Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back once again, or for the very first time, to the Farts and Crap Show, where today, as per usual, it's your host, Anjo, here with another, not an episode really, or a part of any other series, but yeah, another game for you guys that's, one to highlight here on the show. And yeah, there's going to be a few more of these kind of like odd ones coming in these next few days. This one is a demo, but I'm also going to be looking at some games that still are stuck on like original hardware in a couple of cases that really need to be ported to modern platforms. But there's a few demos I wanted to go over. So games that are not out yet, but hopefully, will be a thing in the near future, and may even be a thing on this channel in the near future. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, this one is called Stories from Seoul, the Gun Dog, and this one kind of just released on PSN a while ago, the demo, that is, and it kind of immediately caught my attention because just some of the screenshots and stuff, because I love the aesthetic that they chose, and because for real, like, I don't know why they did this, but they chose, like, not the color palette, because there's more than 4, but the color tone of the original, like, Game Boy DMG, which is really cool. And the pixel art style is just, like, incredibly good. Like, it's very, very detailed, and the options menu is pretty bare bones. But one thing I love about this is you can choose the art style, which apparently they did I don't know the extent of this yet because I haven't actually touched this game at all. But apparently they at least did character portraits in 2 different styles, like Dojin. I've seen the word a lot. Now that I'm saying it, I just realized I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Anyway, Dojin mode or studio mode, which I think the studio mode art style is like way better. It's definitely an anime art style that I prefer way more. So I'm gonna go with that. And I guess let's just go ahead and get started. So, and this demo is not entirely new either. September 21st, Planetary Calendar 209. Following a raft of oppressive policies and crackdowns from the Earth-based government of the Solar Federation, the joint forces of the Martian territories and the Jovian Unified Colony Fleet rebelled. This conflict came to be known as the Solar War. I didn't know how long that was going to stay on the screen, so I was like, better keep up with it. Yeah, this demo is not entirely... Oh, they do wait for you to press a button. That's great. I appreciate that. Because there are a lot of games. A lot of games where I have to just, like, rush through the narration because it's just, like, on autopilot. Mecha autopilot. Yes, that was unintentional, but yeah, apparently this demo has been out on Steam for the better part of a year at this point, I think. I believe the article I saw was from June of 2023. So I don't know why it took such a long time to come to... I think it's on Xbox as well now, but the article I read that was more recent um, said the demo was out on consoles, and it is going to be coming to Switch, supposedly, which I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't. It's not a very graphically intensive game, and for the type of game that it is, the Switch would be more than powerful enough to run this game at full frame rate. But yeah, the demo is not on Switch, at least at the time of recording. So I don't know if it's coming in a later date. And I could, speaking of dates, they're delicious. I prefer them to figs. No, I'm just kidding. I like figs way better, but that's not the point. Release date, also known as a release fig, absolutely not. But I might call that. I might start using that though. That's kind of funny. It's like, well, it's kind of like a release date, but it's a release fig. Um, there's not like a set date right now from what I could find. Um, there it looks like the studio and publisher is looking at a winter 2024 release date, or I should say release window. Um, that's pretty much all the info I could find on that. But it's yeah, I'm playing. There is a demo on PlayStation Network for both PS4 and PS5. Um, I personally downloaded the PS4 version because that means I can use a controller that I like. So that's the only reason. Uh, the war carried on for 3 years, but eventually the combined forces of the Martian territories and Jovian Unified Colony Fleet managed to push the Federation military all the way back to planet Earth. In Corneria, in the final days of. I mean, let's be real, in Star Fox 64 and Corneria is basically Earth. But anyway, fourth planet of the Lilat system. Anyway, in the final days of the conflict. Conflict? Anyway, sorry, I just realized, like, as I was reading that, it's kind of the same cadence as, like, I mean, he takes more of his time with it when he's like, Corneria, fourth planet of the Lilat system, the evil Andros. you know? Anyway, in the final days of the conflict, a pitched battle was fought in lunar orbit so that would decide the war's victor. Lunar orbit. Aboard the Jovian carrier JFS K. Cal. Cal. Calic? Probably Calic, yeah. That sounds right. Oh my goodness, that is a classic sound effect. Holy shit. Um. What is that? That is almost identical to God, it takes me back. Uh, mm, what does that remind me of? It's not a Game Boy game. It is. I want to say 8-bit. I don't think it's an NES game either. I think it's actually Atari. Might be Master System. Mm. Oh, is it Defender? It might be. It might be Defender. Speaking of Atari shit, this definitely reminds me of what is it this reminds me of? So many games like copied it later and like kind of improved upon it. There was this old game. Ugh, I think it's Star Raiders. Anyway, this is my point is this is hitting like all the nostalgia buttons. But yeah, Defender I believe was developed by Midway, um, way back in the day, and I think initially was on the Atari 2600. I want to say. Um, I think the game originally released back in 1979. It was either late 70s or early 80s. And I have Defender on the which one is it? I have a bunch of retro game collections. One of which is just a bunch of Midway games, and I'm pretty sure Defender's on there. And like it has like a little like I don't remember if it's in the game itself or just in the game manual, but it has a bunch of like what would you call that? I don't know, like snippets, whatever, like descriptors for each game, like the history of it, like this brief description, like controls. It was a pretty common thing to have on like arcade cabinets and stuff back in the day because like that was kind of the original way a lot of people would browse games is they would just like even before arcades really um but arcades really made it more accessible. But yeah, older like some of the earliest arcade cabinets would have like a brief description of the game, like they'd be covered in like game art, like what today would be considered like box art promotional material kind of. Um and yeah, I'd have like a short description of the game and like also the controls usually like printed either kind of like this actually like either on like the border of the screen itself or sometimes like closer to the actual like buttons and sticks and stuff. Anyway, uh oh man, war never changes. Indigestion. Indigestion never changes. You reflexively tighten your grip on your armored frame. Okay. Twin flight sticks as another wave of vibrations reverberates through the cockpit. Yeah, hit me with that sound effect again. The creak of your new flight suit and your quickening breath are the only sounds that you hear above the gentle hum of the frame's subsystems. I don't know if it's Defender. It might be Scorched Earth. Maybe it was also an 8-bit game, but I think that one originally. I think it was only PC, like those early like MS DOS games and like for like Windows 3.1 and shit like that. As you squeeze the controls tighter, their plastic casings creak under the pressure. You try to stay calm, knowing that these gentle vibrations are remnants of huge shockwaves that are buffeting? Okay. Buffeting the cal Kalike? Might be Kalike. Yeah. The Kalike, the carrier that you are stationed on. Each one is in near miss as an explosion tears through the space around the ship. You try to push, like the fact that it's just like dead silent now when we're like greeted with that bopping freaking you know chiptune soundtrack. I was kind of hoping for more of that. You try to push the thought from your mind and focus on controlling your breathing, but you've already realized their frequency means the Kalike must be approaching the front line. Your squadron will be launching soon, and you'll be engaging in your first real sortie, your first real flight, in fact. Please just Keep hitting me with that. I love that sound. You feel your throat tightens. Hmm? Oh, that's a semicolon. And single quotes? Some strange punctuation. Oh, and they did the British I forget what that's called. The British comma thing where you put the comma outside the quotes when there's dialogue or something. But I guess, mm, I guess like single quotations would be clearer than trying to do like italicized text. I guess. Anyway, simulations are as good as the real thing. That's what your trainer told all of you. But you know that pilots are supposed to have hundreds of hours of live flights and training exercises in real armored frames before they're allowed anywhere near the front lines. Of course, that didn't happen. Command has told you that the modern simulators meant cadets would graduate without the need for these exercises. Hmm. You'd overheard the rumors, though. The Jovian colony fleet had lost. Man, it has been nothing but a wall of text and silence and this one screen. You'd overheard the rumors, though. The Jovian colony fleet had lost a lot of pilots and, still wanting to keep pace with the Martian advance against Earth, had resorted to fielding anyone who could fight. Your whole squadron is just like you, freshly conscripted from the Europa colony. Oh, Europa, that came up recently. Cool. Europa is one of the only uh, moons in the solar system that might have water. It's a prime candidate for potentially, colonizing it. Yeah, without a ton of difficulties. I think there's also, I think they also are on Europa at one point in Cowboy Bebop, I think. They're, yeah, I think so, because they go to a couple, I think Ganymede is also one of the moons of Jupiter. Or was it the other one? Anyway, the the this stuff. Freshly conscripted from the Europa. Okay, you'd undergone basic training there, but almost. Yeah, I read that right. You'd undergone basic training there. You should have almost all. Yeah, you should have a comma there. That's a compound sentence. Whatever. You'd undergone basic training there. Could put a full stop there. That's a complete thought. Subject, verb, predicate, everything. So, comma, but almost all your flight training had taken place on the cruiser's journey from Jovian space. That would also be a complete sentence, thereby making that a compound sentence, combining two related ideas, with a comma and a conjunction, but whatever. This is not grammar class. You wonder how the others are feeling right now. Weather. Incoming signal. What does it say? Sub something mode mono? So, is that supposed to be illegible? Sub. Wait, maybe it's not sub. So, sub. Cerudice? Cerudice? Is that even a word? Is that an R? It's too tiny. You need like a couple more pixels. Subudice? Cer. Cer. I mean, if that other word is mono, then I'm assuming that's the point, is like sound only, and it's cutting out, and it's only mono audio. Like, it's a very weak signal connection. Anyway, whatever. I'm assuming that's what it means, is like, it's not, it can't be sound, no. So, is that an R, or is that a... Sorry, that's really I'll forget about it. Don't worry about it. Maintenance crew. Killige 5, this is the flight deck. We're preparing your squad for takeoff. Running last minute diagnostics on your frame. Activating all systems. Now. Alright, looks good to go. We'll run a few... Oh man, I love those sound effects. Oh, finally we have a soundtrack, jeez. We'll run a few more checks so that we have Spaceborne in a few minutes. Ready to show those Terrans who's boss? Damn straight, ready to kick some ass. Oh, these are dialogue options. Fuck yeah. Let's go. Yeah, let's get a little cocky. Get a little cocky. Yeah, can't wait to get down there. I'm gonna. Oh, that's me. Okay. Yeah, I can't wait to get out there. I'm gonna. You stammer, trying your best to convince not the engineer but yourself that you're ready for what's waiting for you. Also, whoever did the soundtrack for this game. Fuck yeah, dude. Whoa, take a breath there, Clique 5. It's not gonna be that bad out. We need to get all riled up in the hangar. Tell you what, pilot, what's your name? Pooh. Pooh. What's your surname? Pooh. And your pronouns? I don't care. I don't see an option for dogshit pilot. There's a... I guess... Sure. Okay, Ensign Pooh, first up, take a few deep breaths for me, in and out, nice and slow. You got that? You draw in one long, measured breath. There should also be a comma there, between adjectives, but whatever. And hold it, then release it. Okay, whatever. Following the engineer's instructions, you repeat this a few more times. After a while, comma, you begin to feel your pulse slow and some of the tension in your body slip away. You still feel on... Oh, you still feel on edge, but feels... You don't need feel in there again. You still feel on edge, comma, but slightly more in control. Did they just not have anybody that, like, understands, like, proper grammar and whatever? Alright, there we go. Now listen up, Ensign. You got a thing to worry about out there. You ain't got a thing to worry about out there. The way I've heard of it is all the terrain's best pilots were taken care of between here and Mars. Heck, Martians are the ones who've been leading the charge today, so they're the ones taking all the flack. Propaganda machines selling this as our decisive strike against Earth's last line of defense. Oh, they spelled defense the other way. It's, I forget why the differences arose, but defense can either be spelled with a C towards the end or an S. So they went the C way. That's interesting. Between you and me, nothing more than a mopping up situation. Buddy of mine in operation said as much in the canteen last night. Besides Semicolon and then nothing? Okay. You hear a dull ring over the comms and sit bolt upright in your seat. That... Bolt... No? That's... Sit bolt upright? In that context, bolt is usually a verb? If you're using bolt to describe the sit, you don't... It's redundant. You don't need sit bolt upright. You could just say, and bolt upright in your seat. You're saying sit bolt upright in your seat, but the seat is pretty much the object of the sentence. You don't also need... Bolt is a verb by itself. Whatever. Anyway. Slouching back and exhaling as you realize. Oh, and they spelled realize with an S. So they localized this for British English poorly, I'm guessing. Because I think that's the British English spelling of realize. And I think that might be the difference with defense as well. Anyway. You hear a dull ring over the comms and sit bolt upright in your seat. Slouching back and exhaling as you realize it's nothing more than the engineer striking the cockpit armor on your frame. It's a mess of a sentence, but okay. This beauty here is a work of art. Terrain frames ain't got nothing on her. She's all tuned up and ready to go. Probably spent more time with this one than I have with my own kid. So don't you worry. Remember what they taught you in training and leave the rest up to her and you'll come out of this just fine. Despite your startled reaction a moment ago, comma. The engineer's confidence is infectious and it's starting to rub off on you. That should have been another comma. That's a compound sentence because it's starting to rub off on you is a sentence. Okay. You adjust your position in your seat so that you sat up straight and the soft hum of the frame system now seems more comforting than ominous. You adjust your position in the seat so that you're sat up straight. Okay. And the soft hum of the frame system now seems more comforting. Alright. It's a poorly written sentence, but fine. Just a mopping up operation, you think. Martians have done all the work, so we're sitting pretty here in our top-of-the-line frames. Period. Yeah, nothing to worry about. So, Ensign Pooh, how are you feeling about things now? Feeling good, ready to go! Yeah, I'm ready to get out of there and kick some ass. Ready to get out there and kick some ass. You declare, channeling your newly tapped well of confidence. That's the spirit, Ensign. Now hang on to that and we'll have you out of those hangar doors and kicking Terrans around in no time. Indigestion never changes. Left alone with your thoughts, you tune back into the gentle hum of the frame. Sure. You watch the seconds tick away on the cockpit clock. Tick away on the cockpit clock. Whilst? Now we're using whilst? Alright. Whilst you wait for the order to launch. Whatever. The wait seems to drag on and on. Don't end a sentence with a preposition. You carry out a few last-minute flight checks before... You carry out a few last-minute... Oh, last minute is hyphenated. Flight checks, comma. But as you already completed them when you boarded, comma, nothing has changed. Fuck, dude, seriously. Alright, pilots, listen up. This is Kalike 1. We've been cleared for launch, so be ready for immediate action. All frames will be taking off in designation order. Designated order? I mean, it's fiction. they could have an order called designation or whatever. Attack formation. Sound off. Kalike 2 ready. This is Kalike 3 ready. Kalike 4 here, ready for takeoff. Let's fucking go! Kalike 5, confirm your status. Oh yeah, Kalike 5, standing by. Keep it together, Kalike 5. Kalike 6. Kalike 6, ready. Alright, Kalike Squadron, move out. Kalike 1, launching. Kalike 2, launching. Is this the narrator or all the different Kalike pilots? Because this is the same text from before as the narrator. Whatever. They're all launching. Okay, that was 4. Then you think, if I stay here, my chances of staying alive drastically increase. The roll call of your squadron as they depart from the ship and accelerate rapidly towards a combat zone sounds almost like a countdown to you, except it literally is because you are the 5th one in the squadron. Once Kalike 4 has declared their launch, you know your time has come. You disengage the restraints and prepare yourself. Kalike 5 launching! You shout as you slam the flight sticks forwards. Okay. For maximum thrust. Kalike 5 abort launch, cut thrusters! Kalike 5 abort launch, cut thrusters! The engineer's instructions barely register in the confusion as you're jerked around the cockpit, hot, your helmet slamming on the control panel as a brief moment of thrust. As a brief moment of thrust throws you back into your seat before you're whipped forward again. Okay. Warnings flash all over your monitors, and sirens and alerts sound from all over the cockpit. Kalike 5, abort launch, and cut thrusters! It takes a few seconds for you to comprehend the engineer, but once you do, you quickly pull... Man, they just don't like using commas. You quickly pull the flight sticks back to their neutral position. The roar of your frame's engines dies, and your cockpit regains its previous stillness. You wince as the metallic taste of blood fills your mouth. Is that normal in the... I mean, it could be in this world, you know. Alright, Kalike 5, hang tight for a moment. Your frame's restraints didn't accept... That should have been a comma, or a period, not a comma. Your frame's restraints didn't accept the disengage command, so you're still attached to the Kalike. That would make sense why that didn't work. We're gonna need to run a diagnostic, shouldn't take too long. You slump in the cockpit's chair and exhale deeply. And while this song felt appropriate a while ago, it definitely doesn't fit the tone of this scene. You slump in the cockpit's chair and exhale deeply, your heart still pounding 1,000,000 beats per minute, and your lip stinging. Okay. You still continue to slow your breathing as you listen to the still open communications channel from the maintenance crew as they work to get your frame released. Yeah, looks like the restraints disengage command didn't register. Yeah, Unit 5. Alright, yeah. Get Unit 6 out, no sense waiting for this one. Alright, start the diagnostic, then reboot if necessary. I mean, you should probably reboot, like... anyways, since this shit happened. Kalike 6 launching! Yeah, do they all do that? Shouldn't have been, like, super obvious that you weren't disengaging because the arm didn't, like... Whatever. What do you mean hardware fault? We've checked this 10 times since Mars at least. Who is assigned Unit 5? Oh, for Fine, right? Shut down systems and run the diagnostic again. This frame out there in the next 5 minutes. Click A5, we're gonna shut down your frame systems for a moment so we can run diagnostics. Stay ready though, we'll have you launching soon. Click A5, understood. Ready and waiting. It's doing the old on the Windows thing, that's funny. As your cockpit fades to darkness again, you realize the flight sticks. You release. Yeah, whoops. You release the flight sticks and suddenly realize just how long you've been clenching your fists around them. You flex your fingers and roll your shoulders, exhaling again as you. You flex your fingers and roll your shoulders, exhaling again as you begin to hear the muffled sounds of the engineers working on your frames restraint. That's not a sentence. That one should have been a comma. Whatever. Starting with a dead monitor, you slowly begin to smile. This was what you wanted, wasn't it? You'd spent so long worrying about the mission that you'd thrown up twice in the past 24 hours, and now it looks like that was all for nothing. Oh, all the worry. I was like, no, you still vomited twice. That's not for nothing. You got what you wanted, and we're safe. Fucking. That wasn't proper use of pronouns. Because, like, the worry part was the first part, the vomiting part was the second part, and then it said it, like, as in the last thing, like the last noun or, like, phrase, concept, right? Is typically what that refers to. So, literally interpreting that sentence, yes, it would have been like implying that the vomiting was for a reason, you know, as if, like, for example, like if like a fighter was like trying to like stay under a weight class or stay in a weight class and not go up a weight class, that's maybe a thing they would do. Like, drink a lot of water and do a lot of vomiting and fasting and stuff like that to try to keep their weight down. That would at least have an intention that would be logical. For that one, they're like, oh, you shouldn't have been worried. That's the point, because you weren't going out on the mission anyway. But the literal interpretation was that, like, oh man, you didn't need to do all that vomiting. Like, like, no, you didn't need to worry because it wasn't going to happen. But whatever. As safe as you can be, strapped to the outside of a military carrier in the inactive armored frame anyway. Your smile widens inadvertently at that thought. That's fine. Getting shot down in an inactive frame, still in its restraints. Your smile widens inadvertently at that thought. Getting shot down in an active frame, still in its restraints. You become a cautionary tale for engineers and pilots throughout the entire Jovian. That is incredibly poorly worded. What? Your smile widens inadvertently at that thought. Getting shot down in an active frame, still in its restraints. Like, that's a thing that's happened before or could happen because you can't move. Like, somebody could shoot at the carrier and you would just be inside the thing, not able to do anything. You had become a cautionary tale for engineers and pilots. Yeah, so was that a thing that had happened? Also, that's not where a period should be. Like, you could use a colon or a semicolon or like a dash. Like, that's not a sentence by itself. Getting shot down in an inactive frame, still in its restraints. That's not a sentence. Whatever. Your mind turns quickly to the rest of your squadron. When they returned, you'd be in the laughingstock of the entire Kalike. The pilot who'd spent their entire first mission stuck in a dark cockpit. The pilot who'd spent their entire first mission stuck in a dark cockpit. That's not a sentence either. Whatever. You dodged a bullet, but you'd never... And that one cuts off, so I'll give it a pass. This is TFaCS. They've cut off the flight path. There's more. There's a whole squadron of carriers coming in from the E field. TFaCS1, they're going to cut you off from the fleet. TFaCS signal. Okay. Disappearing has you sit bolt upright again. They're going to use that same term that is not whatever. A good way to say that. TFaCS's signal disappearing has you sit bolt upright as you begin pressing buttons, trying to activate your cockpit's main monitor so you can see what's going on. However, with your frame systems shut down remotely by the maintenance crew, you can do nothing but sit in the dark stillness and listen to the events unfold. Also, doesn't the actual, carrier that you're on have defenses? Or are these frames the only things that they have? Are they implying the ship is a sitting duck? Because these TFaCS frames are 5 of them are gone and you're the only one left, but you can't do anything. I think that's what they're implying. Whatever. However, with your frame system shut down remotely by the maintenance crew, you can do nothing but sit in the dark stillness and listen to events unfold. Here we go. That killer soundtrack, remember that? TFaCS, respond. Oh, this is the commander, right? TFaCS, respond. What's going on? How many carriers are coming in from E field? Ma'am, oh, was that commander female? Alright, cool. I mean, it's hard to tell from the tiny, thing, and the face is partially obscured by the masks and stuff. Or the face shields, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Different sci-fi things have different names for that. Ma'am, TFaCS's signal has been lost. It's not responding. He's... Hold it together, TFaCS4. All units form up. Defensive formation on me. I said all units. TFaCS2, don't break formation. Ma'am, they're firing on us. There's so many of them. Oh God, help, ma'am. Of course they're firing on you. What the... Oh, are they implying that all of these pilots are rookies except for the commander? In an instant, your communications channel is flooded with cries of terror and panic. You hear your squad mates, your fellow pilots, Yeah, I read that right. Exclamations of fear as this unexpected enemy force bears down on them. Screams and yelps, wails and howls fill your head as you sit powerless in the dark confines of your cockpit. Hey, who's out there? Engineering, hey, get me ready. I can help. Get me ready to launch. Engineering. Your frame is not working, dude. What do you mean you can help? You think you can help? What, you gonna get out there all naked and just punch them really, really hard? Now they're getting killed out there. I need to go now. You shout demands to get your frame ready for launch over the channel, but are met with no response. Duh. In the dark of the cockpit with your controls unresponsive, you can't be sure whether the channel is closed or if no one is listening, with all attention tuned to receiving the battle-damaged units from your squad. Listen to me, anyone, anyway, get me out of here! You desperately begin attempting a manual override of your systems, but find that nothing responds to you. No shit. The only spark of life that you can glean from your frame is a small diagnostics progress bar. I need to be out there, anyone, hey! In one last desperate attempt, you begin hammering on your cockpit walls, hoping to get the attention of the engineers you could hear outside earlier. The entire time, the chaos of the combat out in space is narrated to you in broken fragments. What? The entire time, the chaos of The entire time the chaos of the combat out in space is narrated to you in broken fragments of radio. That is such a terrible fucking sentence. Hold on. The entire time... Oh, a comma after time? Is that what that's supposed to be? The entire time, comma, the chaos of the combat out in space. I think that's supposed to be one idea, right? The chaos of the combat out in space is narrated to you. So that's the verb part. In broken fragments of radio chatter. That's the other concept part. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so those are... Yeah, that makes the most sense. So the entire time, which you could have just gone without the entire time if you don't want to use commas as much. The chaos of combat out in space is narrated to you. It's so terrible. This is such a terrible sentence. This is bad as fuck. This is really bad. Is narrated to you. That is 3 prepositional phrases in a row. To you is... To is a preposition. To you. Prepositional phrase. In broken fragments, also a prepositional phrase. Of radio chatter, also a prepositional phrase. Although I don't know if the to you counts as a prepositional phrase because the is narrated to you. In broken fragments and of radio chatter definitely, but the entire time, the chaos of the combat out in space. Okay, alright. There's 3, 4 on me. I lost my shield. You can't shake them. They're everywhere. They're... Signal lost. Yep. Line is totally cut off. We can't get back to the ship, man. What do we do? What do we do? Stop panicking and form up 3 and 4 on me. We're gonna punch a hole through their formation and... Ma'am, come in, ma'am. Oh, no. Oh, God. Oh. Oh, cacophony. That's a good word. One by one, your squad signals disappear. The cacophony of panic disappears. Replaced by the gentle hiss of static. Waiting for my motherfucking diagnostics. One by one, your squad's signals disappear, and the cacophony of panic disappears, replaced by the gentle hiss of static. You stop hammering on the side of your cockpit as the last voice is cut off. You're drenched in cold sweat now. You're drenched in a cold sweat now, and your empty stomach feels like a rock has sunk to the bottom of it. And your empty stomach feels like a rock has sunk to the bottom of it. Alright. You lean back and stare blankly ahead. This is a Kalik A5. I'm totally fine. Kinda pissed off. Ready for takeoff. No, you're not. Why would you even say that? September 21st, Planetary Calendar 209. Despite last-minute reinforcements for the Solar Federation from their headquarters on Earth, comma, the battle above Lunar is a victory... The battle above Lunar? Okay. Is a victory for the joint Martian and Jovian forces. This would be the final battle of the Solar War. Having lost their strong... I'll just let them do this for a second. Having lost their last stronghold on Lunar, comma, the Solar Federation would agree to a ceasefire, which I think is hyphenated, whatever. It might even be one word, and sign an armistice to end hostilities. An uneasy peace fills the solar system. With conflict between the Solar Federation and the Martian Jovian Alliance concluded, the Kalike and her crew, she should have had some punctuation there, the Kalike and her crew soon returned to the Europa colony near Jupiter. Really? The moon of Europa is near Jupiter? Cool. I kind of figured, considering it's a moon of Jupiter. April 19th. Planetary Calendar 214. The reduced need for pilots away from the delicate space between Earth and Mars. Wait. The reduced need for pilots away from the delicate space between Earth and Mars. The reduced need for pilots away from the delicate space between Earth and Mars saw Ensign Poo. That's actually an unnecessary comma. What the fuck? The one time they decide to use a comma, that's not the right spot for it. I mean, that's a really wordy way to start the sentence, but the reduced need for pilots away from the delicate space between Earth and Mars saw Ensign Poo reassigned to security detail aboard various Jovian ships. The reduced need. Away from the delicate space? No. Oh, maybe they meant that as two separate things. The reduced need for pilots away from the delicate space between Earth and Mars. They should have put that chunk after that. This would have made more sense. Away from the delicate space between Earth and Mars, the reduced need for pilots saw Ensign Poo reassigned to security detail aboard various Jovian ships. He is eventually promoted to lieutenant. There you go. Or it's not the reduced need for pilots away from the space between Earth and Mars. It's the reduced need for pilots within the delicate space between Earth and Mars, as in, like, because they were saying earlier that's basically a war zone, essentially. Like, it's a hostile area, right? And if you're reassigned to security detail on ships instead of being an active pilot, doesn't that mean, yeah, the reduced need for pilots jetting through war zones? You could say the reduced need for pilots jetting through the active war zone or jetting through hostile areas, like, or jetting through the volatile space. There we go. And then you have a double entendre. Or plummeting through the volatile space between Earth and Mars. Or you could still have delicate in there, the delicate space, sure. Or there's a lot of different ways to say that. It's not away from the delicate space. Like, if that is indeed. Because, yes, if you move the phrases around, it slightly changes the intention and the impact. And yes, words and grammar are important because words mean things and things have literal meanings. So, like, if you have. I'm assuming that's what they mean by this. Because, yes, while it would sound better if you had away from the delicate space between Earth and Mars, the reduced need for pilots saw Ensign Poo reassigned to security detail aboard various Jovian ships. That sounds better because it's better organized as a sentence, but slightly changes the intention. However, I think they literally used the wrong. I don't know if that still counts as a preposition, but away. But the reduced need for pilots within the delicate space or fighting through reduced needs for pilots. I didn't really clarify like why, but anyway, not away from, right? Because it's a reduced need. So anyway, whatever. Is eventually promoted to lieutenant. Fine. 4 years have passed since the Worms went to war. 4 years have passed since the battle above Lunar. The Jovian colony fleet, fearing fresh. Sorry, I'll do the narrator thing. I am almost completely 100% just absolutely done with this grammatical nightmare. 4 years have passed since the battle above Lunar. Which one? They've implied several times that there were tons of them. You mean the war above Lunar? Because they said there was the final battle. Or he could just say 4 years have passed since the final battle above Lunar. Whatever. The Jovian colony fleet, fearing fresh aggression from Earth, has increased patrols near its colonies after picking up unusual signals coming from further out in the solar system. Their patrol ship, JFS Gundog, is dispatched to support the JFS O'Brien. Did they clarify? I mean, I guess it's implied that, okay, it's a patrol ship. So I guess JFS, you could assume that JFS is like designation for a patrol ship with some kind of like defenses, all right, or armored frames, I guess. In its investigation of these signals. Jovian space. Aboard the Jovian patrol ship JFS Gundog. Are we finally going to see graphics? Wow, it's that same sound effect again that I'm starting to get tired of. Is this one of those... Dude, is this the room from Nier Automata? It's very fucking similar. It's really fucking similar. Like... I mean, it's similar to a lot of things. I've seen layouts like this in like Space Quest, Star Trek, a few other examples that are not coming to mind right now. I think Battlestar Galactica. Wait, what's the other one? Never mind. A couple of examples, but the first one that definitely came to mind was Nier Automata. As the rumble of the Gundog's engines roaring to life reverberates through the ship, you clench your fists and your sphincter. It's been 4 years, and to this day, the sensation of tremors, whether they're ship engines, docking clamps, or weapons drills, still ties your stomach into knots. Alright, I'm just gonna stop doing that anyway. A bad trait for a ship security officer, or... You shake your head and exhale slowly, taking a moment before stowing the last of your possessions and pushing the drawer closed. There's a drawer somewhere around here, don't worry about it. You feel the click as it locks into place, and the exterior plastic paneling sits completely flush with its surroundings. That's why you can't see it in this image. Stepping back, you look around the room. You take another deep breath and hold it in for a moment. Although this was far from your first posting as security officer, you always felt some sense of trepidation, if not anxiety. As similar as all the ships were, another comma, they all came with their own unique crews and personalities, and with those came unique problems. Breathing out, you take a look around the room, taking stock of your surroundings. Select the look button. You're finally playing the fucking game. 1 hour later. Good job. Select the look button to examine your surroundings, selecting item of interest. Select it again when you're done. This is the only thing you can do. Is it just when it's highlighted? Oh, it's not even point and click, dude. It automatically highlights shit. But I like point and click. It's better. Are these the storage compartments? Just normal storage unit. I travel light, so mine only has clothes in it. I figured. A standard cruise bunk. When you slept in one, you slept in them all. Although this is the nicer ones I've assigned to. If they're all exactly the fucking same, how is this one of the nicer ones? The wall panel can be removed by jimmying it with a thin object, and crew members often stash contraband there. That's not a feature. Like, that's not the reason why this is nicer, right? Looks like this one's not been touched, though. So how is this one nicer if it's exactly the... Alright. Hold on. I'm just gonna turn that down. As much as I'm enjoying this chiptune soundtrack stuff here, I cannot take another minute of this. This is a very promising game. I will say that. The amazing pixel art I saw on the game page, I'm not really seeing any of that right now. I'm sure it opens up a little bit later. It does kind of suck that it seems to automatically snap 2 points of interest. That kind of defeats the purpose of like point and click stuff. Like that was like still one of my favorites of all time. The original Monkey Island. The Secret of Monkey Island. The fantastic point and click adventure, like one of the most defining and best examples in the genre. Like a pioneer in the genre. Like it was also one of the early ones, so yes, there's some later games like the Sam & Max games that are more refined and sophisticated, and like the late Space Quest game. Okay, fine. Whatever. Point is, it kind of walked so others could run. And all of those games kind of share a common thread where you have a cursor, and it doesn't matter, it's like, oh well, it's on console, so, you know, it would be weird if you had to use an analog stick, or even motion controls, which is a perfect replacement. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I've used it before in games where you use motion as a pointer. That's totally fine. I'm also totally fine just using an analog stick. You know, there are ways to do it well. It's not as easy. But, you know, acceleration and sensitivity and various things like that, just leave options for it. It's not difficult. There's also a good way to have, like, a couple of good ways to have, like, presets that actually feel natural and, like, accurate and good to use. Anyway, doesn't really matter very much. It's, but, on the one hand, I do kind of miss the Wii and the Wii U for that reason. Having the sensor bar, like an accurate way to like point and like have a finer degree of control. That was a really good idea. Shitty that it wasn't adopted by more platforms. I still have my Wii sensor bar on top of my thing because sometimes I fire up the Wii/Wii U to, you know, utilize things like that. And it was a good idea. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Anyway, I like point and click games. I like text heavy games. I like games that's fucking spell check their shit, and not just spell check their shit, also actually have a person that has good grammar that proofreads things. Because this is has potential. Like, I would not be as harsh on most games. Not nearly as harsh. But when the first hour is basically a wall of text. Yes, with a few images. Sure. A few animations. Okay. But like no gameplay whatsoever. The only gameplay was choosing those like 2 dialogue options. And that was pretty much it. So I'm gonna critique what it is, and so far what it is a lot of text that is not very well written. So if they fix that, which they should have fixed before the demo came out, then yes, I'd be into it. But I don't know why, but in a lot of games, and I mean a lot of games that have a lot of text, there are somewhat frequently this kind of thing where I find just like stuff that's very not well written. And I get it. Nowadays, it's less common to have like a knowledge of like proper grammar and like all this other stuff and blah blah blah, because and I think I believe this is why standards are like lesser than they used to be, at least for not necessarily literacy, but writing. Writing is not really a skill that is taught in all the facets of as much these days. There's less importance. And like for a lot of grammar stuff, they're like, oh, just use Grammarly or spell check on your computer or blah 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 blah. And it's great. It'll get you blah blah doo 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 doo. Like, okay, that's fine, but it's not a bunch of arbitrary shit. And I feel like communication is... Because I had an idea on this a while ago for a story where... Don't steal this idea. I might still use this. If I find that you stole my idea, I will reference this video and be like, hey, like, but whatever. It's an idea, and it's not like completely original. I'm being like 90% facetious. It's basically Idiocracy, which is a movie by Mike Judge, and it brings up a good point. Just like in 50 years, how stupid will society be, basically. I don't remember if it was 50 years. It's a not huge amount of time. And I think that's a joke in the movie. It's like, what is this, 1,000 years in the future? And they're like, no, it's like, it's 1980 or whatever. Like, what? How did things get so bad? And it was like, But yeah, and they still communicated pretty well, is the point. Which I think was the big inaccuracy of that movie. I think over time, the importance of like language and writing and clear communication is just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse until everybody assumes everything about everybody. And can't convey ideas anymore. Like, books are ignored because they're too archaic, and the type of language used is considered a distant relative of like modern, quote unquote modern, in this case futuristic communication. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen in 50 years. I don't, but 100 probably, I would say. But it depends, you know. It's not necessarily. I mean, shit, there was a point in time when it was considered a waste of resources to educate the poor. Like, there's... It just, you know, a lot can change. I guess that's the takeaway here. A lot can change in a surprisingly short amount of time. So... And yeah. This game should be coming out within 6 months. Probably 7 at most. I guess 8 at most. Like, January is considered winter, right? Yeah. But anyway, hopefully they get the grammar fixed up. If they don't, I have no interest in this game whatsoever. It's just, there are certain things here and there where it's like, oh, that's not spelled correctly, or that's like, you know, that should be a semicolon instead of a colon, or that should be brackets instead of parentheticals, or that should be... I'm not gonna nitpick something when it's clear what they meant, and as long as it's conveyed clearly. When it gets to be convoluted, though, frequently, that's where I have a problem with that. And again, this is mostly a critique. It's because they have a ton of text in this game. Those are the only reasons. Like, I'm being critical of that aspect, because that is, so far, the main aspect of the game. So. Anyway. They're up to the minor technical awards. I think they're up to writing. That was an old Futurama joke. I believe that's from the episode, I forget the name, but the one with Zoidberg's uncle, who was an old-timey comedian from, like, essentially the futuristic vaudeville days. And they rigged the Oscars, I think? Yeah, it was the Oscars, yeah. And they're like trying to figure out when to launch their plan, where they like swap out the envelope basically for who wins the award and shit at the Academy Awards, and which I'm sure that's going to be a thing of the past at some point, and just it seems like fewer and fewer people care about the Academy Awards these days. But anyway, back in the 90s, it was a big deal. So it was kind of one of those little jabs at a lot of other TV shows, and even at their own show, and probably some of the shit that, you know, went on between, like, you know, some people at Fox and some of the staff at Futurama. But yeah, the it's probably Eric. It's probably Eric. I don't know. All the old writers, I really love all their work. It's fantastic. It's still fantastic. But anyway, thanks for being here, guys. I didn't mean for this one to get so ranty. My bad. I had a lot to say because this game had a lot to say. I feel like I read the first couple chapters of a book that I didn't really like, and then tried to forget that it existed. So, but anyway, hopefully they fix up those issues. Otherwise, I really can't in good conscience recommend this to anybody. But it's a demo. It's out on Steam and PSN for sure. I think it's out on Xbox. It should be out on Switch according to what I read, but it's not out yet, so I think it's coming kind of soon. This is a game I would probably pick up on Switch. Again, if they fix the grammar stuff and if it was like a budget title, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know how long this game is based on the scope and budget and like a couple other things. Yeah, I would at least wait for a discount, which I don't even know how much this game is gonna go for, like MSRP. Like, it's surely not gonna be a full price game. Like, it's not gonna be $60. I highly fucking doubt that. It'll probably be like 30-ish, 20 or 30. I would imagine, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, have you guys tried this one out? Let me know. How much more is there to this demo? I'm kind of curious on that. And what other shows have you seen this exact same room from? Because was it Stargate? Maybe. I feel like it's one of those sci-fi like things where it's just like super common. Like this kind of layout. Single chair, single computer, like kind of futuristic, but also like reminiscent of like very early computers, like the Apple II and shit. It's like, it's kind of funny, but anyways, thank you all for being here, guys. Greatly appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed. Of course, before we get going, a very special thank you going out to the going out to the current Farts and Crap Show members, which at the time of recording is Novelis Draconis, Don Sabino, WTF Corey, who gifted some of these, by the way. Thank you so much. Also, Big Diarrhea Dump, Dan Acton, JSpot51, Autumn Mayfield, Sweet Gaming, Aaron Schick, thank you all so much for choosing to support the show more directly via channel membership. It very much helps out, makes a huge freaking difference, and because we hit that recent goal of 10 channel members, the next Retro Classic series is going to be ad-free, at least for the duration of the series. Next, milestone is going to be 20. So, once we get to 20 channel members, I'll definitely do another one, and we'll figure out something else. I don't really know at the time of recording. All I can think of are some of those sentences that were kind of sentences. The various grammatical issues of this game plaguing my brain right now. But, what else? Oh, right, but if you guys want to stay up to date on all the announcements here on the channel, you can try the bell. I know that doesn't work for a lot of people. If you check out the community tab here on the channel, or the Farts and Crap Show Twitter, or the Discord, we always post on all three whenever there's an announcement. Over on the channel updates channel on the Discord, that's where you'll find all the updates. And on the pinned tweet on the Twitter is usually the most recent announcement. So that's there are a couple other ways you can stay up to date here on the channel. Anyways, that is gonna do it for today, folks. So once again, thanks for being here. Till next time, take care, and I hope you all have a magnificent day.